Hi, welcome to the Andrew Buckle book review of The Complete Kirby, War and Romance. This is an omnibus edition, about 580 pages. Recently just came out from Marvel Comics, and it's all obviously the war and romance stories that he did back in about 1959 all the way through to 1965, that sort of period. Obviously after that it was all superheroes, very little in terms of, obviously they still continued on all the generally in reprints. So you've got the collections there, all the various stories you can see. Now, not everything that's included in this is in this listing. I think this is more the stories that are actually in here, because quite a few of covers, you've got just the cover, no sort of story at all. And then some you've just got like one story, which are quite often like 5 pages. And that was it for the various things. You've got a lovely, just a great cover. Look at that. Just really, really nice. And you've got, however, there's some odd things when they've done that. I don't know. Obviously, probably great on a computer. However, why did they do that? Why not just put the woman maybe slightly aside, or not have the woman, because it just splits. Just ridiculous. And also this one here. I mean, look great probably on the computer, but why is he shooting at the poor woman who's just perfectly reasonable? She's just. However, you got the long list of inkers. Nothing about the colour though. Colorists, whatever. So you've got all the various there, and of course editor Stan Lee down the bottom, and Jack Kirby and Larry Lieber. And you've got the contents. The contents are slightly odd as well, because they didn't put whether it was a cover or not. Obviously you can guess it's a cover, but it's just some of just like one page. That's it. So you've got Love Romance is 87, and then you've got My Own Romance 93, and you can see clearly they're covers or something, because it could be just a pin-up or something else, or an advert or something. You don't know until you go to that page. And then you've got the next one. Now, if you want all of Sergeant Fury, now Sergeant Fury, there's an epic collection, which is brilliant. I love those stories. Unfortunately, not everything is included here. Obviously, all the Kirby work is included, but not anything else. So that's so there are some gaps there. Got a lovely introduction. And then into the stories. The artwork, restoration, is superb all the way through. Really brilliant. Now, I'm not saying that I'm enamoured with every single page of the artwork. I mean, I love Kirby's artwork. Quite a lot of Kirby's artwork is brilliant. Obviously, it depends on the inker as well. Some people, of course, don't like Vince Coletta. I must admit, I love Vince Coletta's work. So I have no problem at all with his work. But however, you go through some of it's great. But there's some real clunky, odd drawn at times, personally, but there's some really great little stories as well. That's just, I always find these ones quite fascinating when they're talking about the various sort of demonstrating the various warships and whatever over a period of history. How odd, just put that in, why not? Actually, I would have bought that sort of magazine if Jack Kirby had done a sort of like illustrations showing all the development of all the ships over the years. I'm quite certain I would have purchased, or tanks, maybe tanks, because there's quite often you get these books, massive books of tanks from the 1920s, 1930s, etc., etc. Would have been nice to have actually done, sort of seen that. However, that's just me. So you got all the various things there, and obviously a little sort of history of developments there. And you got these lovely covers as well. Now the stories, I'm not saying all the stories are great. I mean, they're sometimes you read them and they're like 5-second reads. They really are, that sort of thing. They're so pretty. But some are actually quite often when you look through these, I love this one, and there's that pose there. I am quite certain that pose I've seen in a Marvel comic, in a Fantastic Four or something. Without going through them all, trying to find exactly that pose. But quite often when you go through these, you quite often see characters you think, that looks like Reed Richards. That looks like, what's his name? That looks like Human Torch, and so on and so on. However, you've got here Sitting Duck Battle. Quite a lot of battle ones. I did have, and I haven't got any unfortunately now, a lot of the battle ones, the Atlas ones. Picked up quite a few of them. They were relatively reasonably easy to buy. Now they're not, unfortunately. They seem to be quite expensive. Likewise, even the romance ones. One time you could get them for next to nothing. Now they are quite expensive. But most of the time, I have to say, most of the stories are not brilliant. They're okay. But again, quite often when you look through these, so there's some characters, and you see certain characters in this, and you think, that looks like XYZ from another, Ben Grimm or something turns up. Obviously, he isn't Ben Grimm, but the character just looks the way he's drawn, or like Sue Storm or something in some of these romance ones. And sometimes, of course, you look at it. I'm not very good. I was going to say Steve Ditko. Sometimes you can tell straight away. There's a certain style. Steve Ditko. You can tell it's Steve Ditko straight away. That just looks like Steve Ditko's work. And then, of course, you end up with seeing Art May everywhere as well. That's another problem. We've got some just great Vince Coletta there. Just brilliant bit of artwork. Look at the colours as well. The colours is just great. Absolutely glorious. And they've got a lot of these ones. Now, I don't know where these come from. Whether they... Now, it's all done in job code order. So it's not done in publication order. So you might sort of see it jumping backwards and forwards. Obviously, but I'm not certain how they worked out the covers. Because you've got the covers here. Now, it doesn't have a job code on the cover, so I'm not certain how that was worked out. But Love Romances, not everyone had a cover. So you got the story, but no cover, which is a pity. I think they could have put the back in the extra, the bonus thing. They could have put sort of like quarter-page pictures of them. Would have been nice. It's like I say, some of them are very odd. It's just, well, just me, just the way. This one. Just the way that they're drawn sometimes. It just looks strange, very strange. He really went for these sort of massive, upright, crunched up against the front of the panel there. It sometimes doesn't. However. So you've got lots and lots of great stories all the way through. And this is a teenager can also hate. Very good story. And more stories there. And that, hang on, that's exactly the same. They've used that before. Yeah, and that was earlier as well. So clearly I've just reused that one again. No, maybe that was appearing somewhere else. I Love You Too Much. And, oh, so you've got some, you start looking and think, is that Jean Grey there? Who knows? His Lips on Mine. So you've got lots of, if you're into the romance stories, you're going to love this. If you love the war, actually, to be honest, the war stuff, there isn't as much. There's a lot at the start, but then it suddenly becomes virtually all romance. And then we get into the Sergeant Fury, obviously burst through with the Sergeant Fury. And again, you of course got the epic collections. I would love to see a Sergeant Fury omnibus collection, you know, where it's properly put all the way through. That would be superb. And of course, there's also, some more romance ones here. And some of the people end up starting to look like the Enchantress and things. Certain characters. Oh, I've used exactly the same. I think that's a bit overuse of the same thing. I think that's a bit odd. I'm not saying why include it. Just seems a bit strange. I mean, they could have used something else. However, Love Romances. Sergeant Fury, or maybe a few more bonus material sort of. But you've got a great one there, Sergeant Fury. That was issue 2. Going through again, and again you can. Oh, this I love this section. This was always great. The America's shopping list, and you got all the various showing all the various prices, etc. I assume that's a bit changed now. A light tank, $25,000. That's and weapons of war as well. You've got weapons of war there, and you can see the difference when, of course, you've got different inkers as well. So you've got a different inking style there applied. Court Martial, Sergeant Fury, that's great. I really genuinely enjoyed all those Sergeant Fury stories. They were just great. And of course, you've got the classic one here, Captain America. Captain America and Bucky, which is great inclusion of that. And of course, you've got the usual things where you've got I love the letters pages. Not many letters pages in here. Maybe they didn't have many letters pages for the Fury ones. Because, yeah, haven't seen many in here. So that's it, letters pages. I mean, that's the one thing that I really love of omnibus editions, letters pages, as well as, of course, which they don't always include. Because, of course, unless it's on the letters page, they don't include it. But I wish they would bring out a book of the Mighty Marvel checklist. I would buy that. An omnibus edition, no, that would be a bit extreme. However, what a great thing. So you've got all the lists and what was coming out. So you've got Fantastic Four 34, so that was Gideon. That was Gideon. I love that story. Sergeant Fury 20, Doc Ock and Vulture, etc. Oh, in the tradition of, I should say. The Scorpion, wow. Avengers 11, you got Spider-Man, of course, appearing there. Daredevil 5, that was Wally Wood's first appearance. The Matador, I got that issue. Recently picked that up. That was just great. I love the cover. It's just one of those beautiful red covers that's just glorious cover. Unfortunately, my cover has got some chopped out the little... However, strange Strange Tales 128. I love that one. I've got that one as well. Torch and Thing, Battle, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. Superb. Suspense 61. Astonish number 63 with the Wrecker. Anyway, so you've got all those stories, and then you've got a lovely one, Killed in Action, and all the way through to the end. And then we get some lovely bonus material. So you've got here A Regular Girl. It's a pity they haven't included more. I mean, they've included a reasonable amount. In fact, decent 10 or 15 pages of lovely artwork there. You can see there. Love Romance is 104, Love Romance is 105. You've got Sergeant Fury number 7, Court Martial. And also you've got these, I love that one, The Return, Doctor Doom. This is Fantastic Four in the next greater than ever issue of the Fantastic Four. Now this was in advert for Fantastic Four number 15. And you've got some, obviously, the ones from the Marvel Masterworks, Epics, etc. However, that's it. Brilliant collection. Absolutely good. Now, I'm not saying universally I love every single story in this, and nor every single page of artwork, but still, as it's complete Kirby collection, that's just brilliant. I just love it. And I don't know if that's it, if that's all the material now of Kirby of the 1960s, 1950s from Marvel. If it's not, I hope that it will bring out some more. Obviously, another collection would be excellent. But then again, I would say, why not a collection of Don Heck? Love to see a Don Heck one. Bill Everett collection would be superb as well. Of Joe Manili, even better. So, I mean, all those there's a load of artists that I would love to see collections of. And much as it's great, of course, to have Kirby, there are lots of other great artists that I think deserve a brilliant omnibus edition. And but this one is still very much recommended.